It's Idris Elba versus a lion, and I'm there for it. Okay, so, you guys, it's as simple as that. It's a survival / creature monster movie. Idris Elba's the protagonist. Lion is the baddie. Simple as that. Don't go in there expecting to overanalyze the situation. Yes, there are some issues with it based on some character choices, but as a whole, I enjoyed this film. I'm not sorry that I took the time to go watch it. I would see it again. I would even add it to my collection. Oh my gosh, why am I wearing these? What? It's because I was watching some stuff before I started filming. Anyway, so this movie is very basic plotline, very conventional, simple sort of survival film, and I feel like that worked for it. They didn't try to burden it with too much character stuff. There is important character introduction or character backstory, some character development that happens along the way, but it doesn't get bogged down in it. This movie is only about an hour and a half. It felt a bit longer than that because of the stuff that was going on. You're getting really it's very tenseful in some parts. And it felt longer than that only not because it just felt like it was arduous, but because of all the stuff that was happening. It was just like, oh my gosh, when are they going to get out of this nightmare? That sort of thing. But it's a very efficient use of the time. I don't feel like things got bogged down, like I said, in any sort of parts of the film that made not necessarily made no sense, but like didn't seem to serve any purpose. You are introduced right away to the characters, their backstory, the tension between Idris Elba's character, he's a newly widowed father. There's some tension between him and his daughters. That is delved into as the story starts to unfold early on. And then, of course, they touch on that sort of thing as the story continues on and they're trapped in this situation. And he's this father. He's going to do everything he can to protect his baby girls. And that's the premise. They get caught up in this terrible situation. They're stranded. The trailer basically tells you everything. I will say that when I saw the trailer and he punches the lion in the face, and I was reading some comments about this on Chris Stuckman's YouTube or his review for Beast, because I watched it. I saw he put one up and I'm like, oh, okay. He must have enjoyed it. I'm in the same boat with Chris Stuckman. You know, we agree a lot of times on how we feel about movies, but not always, for sure. And so some people were commenting in the comment section. They were talking in the comments section, and they were talking about how they saw the trailer. He punched the lion in the face, and it was hilarious. And okay. But so that scene, that particular shot looks all badass, right? He's punching the lion in the face. Well, the lion hands his ass to him, you guys. Idris Elba does not beat up the lion. He just doesn't, okay? The lion kicks his ass, basically. So Idris Elba's cool dude, right? You know, in this movie, he plays a doctor. So he's not like someone who's like, oh, you know, I can do all this and I'm this badass character. He's not really. He's a doctor. He's a father. He's just trying to do the best he can to stay alive. And he does face off against the lion, but unlike how the trailer makes it seem like, oh, he's punching the lion in the face, he's gonna, you know, beat up this lion. No. So I appreciated that, even though I did notice how kind of funny that was. Oh, he's punching the lion. Okay. But anyway, it didn't look nearly as badass in the actual movie when you saw it. Also because I think the picture was flipped. What we saw in the trailer, he's on this side, the lion's on this side, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the movie, he was over here and the lion was over here. You know, it's like a little flip of the imagery. Whatever. Okay, so they set up the characters. You see that there's this sense of guilt and grief with Idris Elba's character because of the passing of his wife. There have been stuff going on between them before she died, and he carries a lot of guilt over that. And also, that's the source of some of the tension between him and his girl, specifically his older daughter, that girl right there, the one closest to us. So I gave this movie 3.5 stars. I wanted to give it 4. Initially, I did give it 4, but I scaled it back. And the reason I scaled it back to 3.5 stars is because there are some times in here where some of the characters, well, specifically the older daughter, the one that's got the biggest attitude with Idris, the one that holds the most grievance against him for things from the past. She does some of the stupidest crap in here, and it was just like, I was rolling my eyes at some of the stuff she was doing. And so because they weren't consistent with having the characters do sensible things, that was why I kind of I felt like I needed to trim it down from 4 stars. However, I still enjoyed the heck out of this film. So I don't want me saying things like, well, the characters, sometimes did these really stupid things. I don't want that to detract from people just enjoying this film. Some people complained about the CGI I was talking to someone after the movie, and he was commenting on, oh, Idris Elba going up against a terrible CGI lion. I personally didn't feel like the CGI was that terrible. I mean, CGI has gotten quite good. And there were some lions it shows earlier on before the big bad lion shows up, and is fully revealed. There is some imagery with those lions. You can tell it's CGI, but it's so good. I personally felt like it was so good. It was so close to realistic. Also because I've seen lions do this particular thing in real life with people. Like there's a lion that jumps up and hugs this guy. I've seen actual videos of lions doing that. Like let's say a lion was rescued or whatever from a baby or raised from a baby. And, obviously they're wild animals. Never fully trust them. But I've seen images, I've seen videos of lions jumping up and hugging this human that they're familiar with. So obviously they have full bellies when they do it. But anyway, I personally didn't feel like the CGI was awful. There are, you can tell that it is, but it's not like so glaringly awful. So I felt like it was decent. There was one time that it stuck out to me that there was CGI involved. And honestly, it wasn't because of the lion. I would have to rewatch this scene, but there's a point in the movie where Idris Elba is standing there, the lion's approaching from behind him, and this showdown's getting ready to happen. Idris Elba looked CGI'd in there, you guys. Like, there was something weird about the way his skin texture looked and the way he was moving. I was like, he looks like CGI right here. And he moved. What, did I say moved? He just didn't look normal. And for whatever reason, I feel like that was CGI, and I don't know why, because there was no direct action going on at that moment with the lion. But honestly, it really looked like a CGI. And that was the only time that it really jumped out to me as, whoa, what's going on? So, like I said, I need to rewatch that part and refresh my memory, but I really noticed it. I couldn't help but notice it. Anyway, I've gone over the part about the stupid kids. The kids, the 2 kids initially, like he'll say, stay there, don't go anywhere. Of course, they run off and go somewhere, doing dumb things like that. And it's like, okay, these kids are going to get themselves in trouble, or at least the older daughter is going to get herself in trouble because she's doing stupid stuff, and it was frustrating to see that because you knew that was where it was going to take you. Sometimes the kids, or specifically the little young kid, did something that was pretty quick thinking of her and helped sort of save the situation and at that point in time what was happening. So they weren't completely dumb. They didn't completely make bad choices or whatever, but it happened enough that you couldn't help but notice it. So that was a little frustrating, dealing with it. You could say, well, they're kids, but still, come on. There's only so much of that you can take before they really start to get on your nerves, and it starts to feel like some problems with the writing as opposed to clever writing showing character flaws. You know what I mean? Something else about this film that I couldn't help but notice was the camera work in there was... Initially, I didn't pick up on it, but after a while I did. I started to notice that there were instances in here where there's a lot of long takes, or it's made to look like a long continuous take. One of the first times I noticed it was, and it shows this in the trailer, he's like running through this area or it's like, I don't even know what these things are. They're like um trees, or they almost look like bare branches of a tree growing up from the ground and kind of forming this little walkway area. I don't know what they are. It was kind of cool, but I don't know what they are. But whatever, he's running through this area, weaving through this area, and the camera's following him all around, and it's going around him and behind him and whatever. And there's this constant motion. You guys, I almost got motion sickness from that. It was like, huh. It was, and also in some of the scenes where the lion is attacking, let's say he's under the vehicle and the lion's attacking him, very cramped, claustrophobic type of feel, really kind of puts you in the stress of the moment. And they're stuck in the car. They spend a lot of the time in this vehicle here, in very stressed, cramped environment. And so I felt like that sort of thing really set the mood, like it amped up the tension, and especially those long takes where things were just feeling really chaotic and claustrophobic and almost nauseating just because of the camera motion. But I'm kind of sensitive to stuff like that, so I don't know. Anyway, but I'm glad that I wasn't the only. Well, I mean, I'm not like this huge movie expert or anything, but I appreciated that Chris Stuckman noticed things like that too, because he's a movie maker now. He's worked on, he's finally wrapped filming of Shelby Oaks, his crowdfunded film. And so he was noticing the type of camera work that I was talking about. He noticed it earlier on in the film than I did, when he was talking about things like when they're being introduced to this pride of lions, these characters are being introduced to this pride of lions. And he was talking about the different types of shots. He was saying he noticed there were wide shots, medium shots, close-up shots, and he was talking about that also right on the heels of talking about the long takes and everything. And I'm curious to watch this again and just to notice those sorts of technical details. And he was pretty impressed with that. And, looking back on it now, and especially just thinking about the long takes, I felt like that was a really interesting way to film. And I felt like it really added to the movie. Like I said, amping up the tension, the drama, stuff like that. So that was interesting. If I had any other complaints about this movie, in addition to what I already said, about some of the characters making really dumb decisions, it would be, there's this scene that happens towards the end, and they become separated from the lion. And I'm not going to explain how this happened or whatever. They become separated from the lion. They go quite a distance away from the lion, and then the lion shows up where they are. Now, it's going to happen. This is going to take place. But even before the lion showed up, I was like, but how? How would the lion know to go to this place? Okay, so maybe, I don't know, do lions have a great sense of smell? Maybe. And that issue, they attempt to sort of answer that issue when Idris Elba says something like, well, he must have come through the pass or cut across the pass or something like that, like that there was this shortcut that the lion must have taken. But with as much space as much distance as had been put between these characters and the lion, it seemed a little bit like that the lion would have found them, I mean, obviously this is a horror thriller type movie and that's got to happen, but that really stuck out to me as like, and that's also part of the reason why I notched a half of a star off. But as a whole, I still enjoyed it. I like the simplicity of it. Obviously, Idris Elba is a plus. I like his work. I've liked Idris Elba since I first saw him. And the first thing that I remember seeing him in, it's very possible I saw him in other stuff before this, but the first thing I noticed him in as an actor was the series Luther. And I really liked his character in there. And then I listened to at least the first book. I don't remember if it's a series of books, but I listened to the first book. And I like the show more than the book, because in the book, the character of Luther it was just like his ex-wife and him pining over her, and she was an idiot. I didn't like her, so they I felt like it was done better in the show. That's a tangent, whatever. But I've liked him since Luther, a long, long time ago. And he really generally does not disappoint. I'm planning to go see his next movie that's coming out just in a few days, The 3,000 Years of Longing, where he's the genie. Curious to see. I was going to buy a ticket for it, then I changed my mind and I bought a ticket for the invitation instead, and then I got talked into 3,000 Years of Longing. So we'll see. Hopefully it will have enough of an impact on me that I feel like I actually do want to do a review for it. But this one I definitely enjoyed enough to do a review for it. So yeah, if you like just basic sort of movies like this, survival, creature horror type thing, and you don't mind spending an hour and a half of your time, check it out. You might like it. Then again, I don't know, you might not. This doesn't have the hugest critical or highest critical reviews, and it doesn't have the highest audience reviews. I feel like the audiences are being quite a bit harsher on it than the official critics are, but whatever. This is one of those times where I part ways with audience reviews and say that I enjoyed this film and I would watch it again. And I guess that's all I have to say right now. So I'm going to wrap this up. We'll see you guys later. Adios.